auditorium as possible. I'm Darrell Daniel, the Executive Director of the Derrick Charity Program. I thank each of you for being here, along with our distinguished families. It is our custom, part of our history, heritage, culture, and value, that when we assemble, if we expect anything good to come out of what we do, that we invoke that being that makes it possible for us to be here this evening. With that in mind, we're going to start with an invocation by the Reverend Bart Banks, the pastor of St. John Progressive Church. Reverend Banks.
Thank you so much. Shall we pray? My gracious and heavenly Father, how excellent is your name in all the earth. We come into your presence with thanksgiving in our hearts. Thank you for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. We recognize that it is in you we move and have our being. We've come tonight, Lord, to ask your divine blessing upon this meeting as we gather as a community to fight this tragedy in our community, this crime. We ask that you would help us to recognize the urgency of this situation and help us in our communities to recognize that we are not our own enemies, that we would recognize that the enemy of our community is unemployment, illiteracy, health issues. We ask that you allow the creative juices to flow that will help us to be inspired and encouraged and motivated to continue our fight to rid our communities of this crime epidemic, that we who are here tonight will be a catalyst for starting this movement that will be empowered to help us to accomplish this goal. We thank you for what you've done. We thank you for what you will do tonight. We thank you in advance for what you will do in us, through us, and with us. For that, will be ever careful to give you the praise. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Amen.
We will now have a welcome by the Principal and Chief Executive Officer of Middleton High School, my friend, Mr. Owen Young. Give him a round of applause. Good evening and welcome to George S. Middleton High School, a place where family truly comes first. We are honored this evening to be the host and a participant of such a meaningful discussion topic that has become so relevant in our community. I've had the opportunity to work with many organizations and individuals in attendance this evening in addressing the issue of crime prevention and the empowerment of our community. Upon becoming the principal of Middleton High School 4 years ago, it was often expressed to me that Middleton's success would never happen based on what some believe the condition of the community to be. Equally, I was embraced by many people, and with that support, we went to work, decreasing the behavioral actions and conflicts by over 9,000 incidents, earning the school's first ever B School grade, and restoring pride in the Middleton family. I believe that the work here at Middleton High School can serve as a model and as a beacon of hope in our community. Our progress here at Middleton demonstrates that if we work together as a family that is organized and grounded in common core values, that we can then begin to develop and deliver solutions to our youth that speaks to their realities and to the conditions in our community that impede our children's development. I truly believe that we have the brain trust and the resources in this audience this evening that we can save our children's lives. So let's not waste any time, and let's get to work to develop a plan of action to counter the undesirable behaviors that plague our community. Thank you, and again, welcome to George S. Middleton High School, a place where family comes first. Thank you, Principal Young. We're going to ask you to do something for us today to ensure that we have a smooth flow and an uninterrupted dialogue. If you have one of these, and I'm sure most of you do, can you please check it now to make sure it is either on silent or vibrate? Now, how many of you, let's be honest, have forgot to do that and it surprised you somewhere that you didn't want it to happen to? Okay, so please make sure it's on silent or vibrate. Next, we will have our purpose, which will be given to us today by Mr. Walter W. Niles with the Hillsborough County Health Department and a longtime partner on fighting crime in our community. Please welcome Mr. Walter Niles.
Why are we here? The 2012 statistics report that 94% of Black victims were hurt by Black people. Why are we here? Crime prevention and enforcement policies target people of color disproportionately. Why are we here? In mid-2008, the U.S. Department of Justice Bureau of Justice Statistics reported that there were 4,777 Black males, inmates per 100,000 Black male inmates, compared to 1,700 Hispanic male inmates and 727 white male inmates. Why are we here? In Florida, 87% of all inmates incarcerated will eventually be released. On June 30, 2012, there was 100,527 inmates incarcerated by the Florida Department of Correction. Of those, 46,149 46% were Black. Why are we here? According to the Census Bureau, overall unemployment rates in Florida in 2011 was 12.4%, an increase of 6.1% from 6.3 in 2005. During that same time, unemployment rates for Blacks increased 9.9%, from the rate of 11% to 20.9%. While many Florida citizens struggle because of the economy, the number of Blacks negatively impacted is disproportionately relative to the total population. Why are we here? In 2011, the total population of Florida was 19,057,542. Of this total, Black men accounted for 7.7% of the population, but 12.2% of all persons unemployed. For Black males ages 16 to 19, the unemployment rate was 54.7%, compared to 36.6% of the general population. Why are we here? The percentage of Black male students reading at level 3 and above in the 3rd grade has minimally gained over the last 5 years and trailed their white counterparts by 30%. Why are we here? Black men have the worst health indicators of any racial or ethnic group in the United States. Why are we here? Because homicide remains the leading cause of death across the state of Florida for Blacks between the ages of 15 and 34. Why are we here? We're here to dialogue, to discuss, to come up with meaningful solutions. We're here not to posture. There are no big eyes and little U's here, but we're here as a community to discuss issues related to our population. I invite you to move closer to the circle. I invite you to come and participate, to raise your questions, to raise your solutions, and to be a part of this effort to solve our community ills. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Walter. Our purpose this evening is to have a community dialogue on preventing crime in the Black community. This forum is intended to highlight what is already being done toward that end and discuss what windows of opportunity that we have to enhance our goals. As you can see, we have a robust panel, and we're going to adhere to the rules of engagement as requested. Our elected officials ask for this forum and this dialogue to be about the panelists and the community and not about them. Therefore, they will have 2 minutes to bring their comments, while each panelist will have 3. I respectfully request that each person sticks to those requirements, that each of you is as important as the next. Senator Arthur Joyner, Chair of the Hillsborough County Black elected officials, and Vice Chair of the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee on Criminal and Civil Justice for the past 7 years, has been responsible for the Florida Consortium of Urban League Affiliates and Derrick Brooks Charity to receive funding for Black-on-Black crime prevention and youth crime prevention intervention will bring opening remarks that will not count against her 2 minutes. After Senator Joyner speaks, I will come back and address the panel before they introduce themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Arthur Joyner.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels, and good evening, citizens of our great city. On behalf of the Hillsborough County Black elected officials, I just want to take this opportunity to acknowledge and to thank one of our colleagues who stood out on the issue, who made it the reason why we're here today. We all been thinking about it, but nobody stood up and said, what are we going to do in Tampa about preventing crime in the Black community? And so at this time, Councilman Frank Reddick, we'd like to thank you for standing up and taking the lead on this issue in this community. He brought it to our attention, and we all know how important it is. And with that, contact was made with Mr. Daniels, and he and Commissioner Miller facilitated and arranged for this forum tonight, and we are all deeply indebted to him and to you and the community for attending. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Joyner. When I look at the panels, I see many of you, not many, all of you have done great things in this community. I see more than half of you have already spoken at the largest crime prevention conference in the nation, a conference that I co-sponsored with Attorney General Pam Bondi, that have been instrumental in providing expertise and training to not only governmental agencies, but to community-based organizations and youth-serving organizations that studies have shown was effective in preventing crime and educating our youth. Now that's a national conference that's been going on for 29 years. Back when Wally Shabazz was doing it and Les Miller was in the Senate and the House. This conference should not be called a national conference, it should be called an international conference, because it is still continued by Senator Joyner, and we have attendees as far away as Canada, Jamaica, and South Africa. But tonight, we must focus on home, we must focus on Tampa. When I thought how I would open, I thought back to 1982 when I arrived here in Tampa. We had no Black elected officials. Today, we have 6. We've had 2 Black fire chiefs, a Black police chief, and an assistant Black chief at the same time. In business, we have had 2 Black leaders of the Chamber of Commerce. Even the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have had 2 Black head coaches. Every television station here this evening has at least 1 Black anchor. Blacks have made significant gains in Tampa. As you introduce yourselves today, our distinguished panelists, I'm going to ask the question, what have you done to reduce crime in the Black community as you introduce yourself in your program? And if you have a few seconds left, tell us what you think we as a community together must do to reduce crime. Our timekeeper, Mr. Herman Roxton, would you please raise your hand? Who is the vice chair of our task force? He's our official timekeeper. And he will raise his hand when you have 15 seconds left. Now, I know everybody has some great things to say, but I want to stress each of you is as important as the next person. So I will start with Senator Ardenia Joyner, and each person can take it from there.
Thank you. I've been in the Florida legislature for 13 years, and it's been my pleasure to fight for the people of this community and all the citizens of the state of Florida. The National Conference on Preventing Crime in the Black Community, which Mr. Daniels spoke about, is something that started in 1986. When Senator Miller was in the Senate, he also fought for the funding that we receive each year. And this last fiscal year was $2.8 million. In addition, back in 2007, I was able to successfully procure $1.3 million to get Jim Brown to come, which is a Marriott Can life management skills gain intervention program. But crime in the Black community must be addressed holistically. We can bring in resources and bring in funds, but we can do nothing unless all of us work together. There will be no overnight solution. It is going to take all of us in our cumulative effort to eradicate and reduce crime in the Black community. But you know, there's crime in the community. There's never an outrage when there's, quote, white on white crime. It's only when we do it to each other that there's a big media push about it. But it happens in all communities. Consequently, we must do what we can to prevent crime in our communities, regardless as to who the perpetrator of the crime is. The only way we can do this is we've got to look at all the factors. They're systemic. Economic, social isolation, and poor education system, as well as personal issues. So tonight we begin a dialogue toward fixing the problem, but know that it will not be remedied in one meeting. The community has to work continuously to fight and to come together and come up with a solution so that we can preserve the lives of young Blacks in the city of Tampa.
Thank you, Senator.
Good afternoon, good evening. I want to thank each of you for being here tonight. It shows that you are ready to go to work and do what it takes to reduce the crime in our community. I have served in the House of Representatives since 2006, actually 2007 when we started to work. And every year that I have been there, I have worked continuously to make sure that we find jobs, we get our young people involved, and work to make sure that they are working for, that we are working for them, to make sure that they are a better community the next year. But I believe with what's happening tonight, that we will get a solid thing. And from here for the next 10 years, when we go to Tallahassee, no one will be surprised at why we are there. No one will ask, what is your number one priority this year? I believe that we should have a number one priority from here through throughout the next 10 years that says we are going to eradicate the crime in our community. We are going to make sure that there are services for mental health children. We are going to make sure that our schools are better so our children will not get thrown out at 10 and 11 and 12 years old. We will make sure that there's money in the budget to take care of the needs of our children. And this is, we do not have to be in Tallahassee to do this. I hope that we as a community can come up with one thing to address the needs of our children and continue that thing throughout until we see results. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, good evening. It's a pleasure for me to be here to address this important issue. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Thought it was said back in 1992 when I was in the Florida legislature, I brought urban leagues from across the state together, started working on the Black on Black crime program. I was brought by the urban league. The urban league board decided that we had to do something because it was cheaper to put money in the beginning than put it at the end. So we came together and put the Black on Black crime program together. They told me in the legislature that we couldn't get it funded. At that time, we got $1.9 million. Now it says $2.8 million. So that was one of the things that I saw we needed to do at that point in time. As we went through, Florida became a state of fear because of the mere fact that all the slaves problems that our African-American kids were getting involved in. I don't know if anyone else up here can talk about how it touched them. I see Michelle Patton got us, I know she can talk about how it touched her. About 4 years, almost to the day after passing that law and getting that money in the budget, my son was shot out after a senseless shooting, April 23rd, 1997. Now, about at that point in time, I wanted no one to get a phone call back at me saying their child was shot. Unfortunately, that had not happened. So what do we do? No, we as elected officials can only do so much. We must have each and every one of you to get involved in this. We can talk about money at the front end and not going to the back end. That's fine. We can talk about buying guns. Guns that we buy back, folks, some of them can't be used, haven't been used in 3,000 years. And we still can't do, we still have to stop the wheel of crime in our neighborhoods. It's going to take each and every one of us, whether it's churches, CDCs, you as individuals to come together to see what we can do. How do we address anger management with our young people? How do we address the mental illness that some of our young people may have that they don't even know that they have? Throw these kids on the rip them and say, this solves the problem. Does not do it. What can we do as a community, whether you're an elected official, working with an agency, or just interested like you are, what can we do to stop this from happening? We come here tonight, well, I come here tonight to say, let's sit down the brotherhood at the table and see what we can do to work this out. Maybe we need to bring some of these gang leaders in here and talk to them to see how we can stop some of these issues from working. Hand just went up. I know we have an opportunity here to come back again, but thank you so much for being here with us. God bless each and every one.
Let me start off by saying good evening to everyone. I'm not going to directly address my concerns, but then highly printed in just about every newspaper in town. So I just want to take this opportunity because this could not have happened unless you have some support. And you have to recognize and thank those individuals who helped you and helped this event become possible. But let me start off by thanking Principal Owens for giving us this facility. I also want to recognize the committee that was part of the planning process, who are here, and just some of them here, and just want to recognize them because they put in the time and effort to come up with this program, and come up with this panelist. And so I want to thank them, and that's Bobby Bowden, who is here. Please give them thank you. Ted Scott, who just walked in the door, and Holder. Elliot and Donna Saunders. Dr. Keith Berry. Enid Holder, former police chief, played a significant role and also been a part of the planning committee. Let me say, I just also want to recognize my good friend Judge Stoddard, who is here tonight. Raise your hand, Judge Stoddard. Thank you, and we're not going to stop here. Let me just say that. We're not going to stop here. We're planning to take what we develop here through solutions and suggestions and have another meeting. And the next one will be in West Tampa. And we plan to discuss this. And we're also planning to involve the youth in the next one, because those are the ones that we want to target. So we want to thank you. And I thank all of you for taking this time this evening to come out here, because it's time we address this issue, and we shouldn't be ashamed to address it. Thank you.
Before I begin my comments, I want to congratulate and thank Councilman Reddick and the Brooks Charities for this opportunity for addressing a problem that I'm going to describe as a quality of life issue. We all know that there are no easy answers, no quick fixes, or magic answers to this problem. But as an educator, I firmly believe that education has to be among the solutions for changing actions and attitudes. I am personally committed to doing the hard and consistent work that it is going to take to change the tide in our community. And as a school board member, I'm going to be fierce and unrelenting in my support to doing all the things right in our school district to help make a difference with our students. I'm going to support and monitor those district programs that will keep our students in school and improve the dropout rate and the graduation rate. I'm committed to making sure that we find options to reduce out-of-school suspension. Our kids need to stay in school, but they also need to respect the right of other students and for themselves to learn and their teachers to teach. I am committed to supporting those programs, like that we have in many of our schools, Watershed Bass and the Nation and the National Trust, Reshape Butler and the Get Straight Foundation, the 100 Black Men and the Church Brooks Foundation. We need you in our schools, and I'm going to continue to support them. I'm going most of all to be fearless to make sure that all of our students leave prepared to do the job, have the skills and the opportunities so that they can compete and be successful. And on a personal note, my car was recently burglarized, but when I go to court in October, I'm going to say to that judge that I'm going to mentor that young man who robbed and who burglarized my car. I don't want another statistic. I'm going to be there for him. My hope is that this meeting isn't the end. It's just the beginning. And as I see it, for the sake of our children, our community, and our future, we have no other choice but to do the right thing for our children. Thank you.
And excuse me, Dr. Berry, and for those who are going to speak next, could you please just give your name before you speak? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Keith Berry, and I teach at Hillsborough Community College. I want to be clear that my comments are not Hillsborough Community College. I work there, but I do not represent them with regard to what I am going to say tonight. I thank you for inviting me to be a part of this panel. There's an African-American, I'm a history teacher, so there's an African-American sociologist by the name of Charles S. Johnson who said that you know well the beginning, the end will not trouble you much. And one of the things that I'm a bit surprised sometimes when I hear from the larger media that the shock that we have violence. We had 246 years of slavery. We had 100 years of Jim Crow after that and lynching. 3 times the federal government tried to pass anti-lynching laws in 1922, 1937, and 1940. Couldn't get it passed. And the reality is we still survived. We did some fantastic things as a race of people despite all of that, and we survived. Yet we still have some persistent problems.
And one of the things I'd like to suggest is that there are things that we can do and should do individually, but our community, this problem we're facing, as a community, cannot be solved by ourselves because the conditions were not created by us alone. Therefore, until the larger community decides that all of our lives are just as important for policies on a broad scale, only the elite blacks will benefit and the rest of black folk will be left to their own demise. A few of us will make it out, playing sports, going to the military, but there are systemic problems that need broad systemic help. Now, specifically, I'd like to mention two things that perhaps could be a start. Certain correct education is the key. That is the foundation. That's how we were able to survive to this point. Right now, I think we can target the geographic areas that we are concerned about that have the problem. And there are multiple organizations and groups that are doing fantastic things in our community. We need to have those groups focused within those geographic boundaries so it won't be, things that are done here and there, and you can't really understand whether or not we've been successful or not. Secondly, you've got to be able to measure what you're doing, or else all the things that everybody's doing would be wonderful, but until you can show that you've measured and shown improvement, you'll be talking to each other. You've got to be able to convince folk that you have improved. You can take all the ninth grade grades, take their GPAs, get their GPAs, and then you can target and focus your help with regard to mentoring, with regard to things they need to improve their GPAs. Come back a year later and see if those GPAs have improved. You've got something to measure, you've got something to show someone, we have made improvement. Okay? So, I'm not going to take up any more time, but I'm really happy to be here, and I'd like to get into a robust discussion. Thank you.
Good evening. Let me just thank the panel for inviting me to participate in this much needed discussion. I want to come at this in a different way. Let me just start out by saying, I took a survey on Columbus Drive South to Osborne North, 34th Street East to Columbus Drive on the west. I counted 26 churches in that area. 26 churches. Now let me read this statement. As a Christian in this complex and changing society, I have reached the conclusion that yes, we are our brother's keeper. In the past decade as Christians, we have attended church services from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. As we pray, preach, sing, and praise the Lord, we lost a generation from 1 p.m. to midnight. That's an excerpt. That's on the back of a program I wrote 26 years ago called Saving Our Children. We have a captivating audience on a Sunday morning. We have mothers, grandmothers, fathers, grandfathers, aunties, cousins, and everyone. Every one of these people are responsible for one of our black males. There should be something that can be done about it. We started this program 25 years ago. We'll be starting now 26 years this coming Saturday. Our program runs between 45 and 50 youngsters each Saturday. They put in 2.5 hours each Saturday from 9:30 to 12 noon. We have a 98% graduation rate. 98%. 97% goes on to college. We have no pregnancies in that span. If we can get together and do something like this program, I think we can change what has happened to us. You know, a house is not a home unless we have the total family. This program started 26 years ago because a young man at my church got in trouble with the law. I got together to sit down and we wrote some things on what we can do to help save our children. Thank you. My name is Clarence Ford.
name is Waleed Shabazz, the National Trust for the Development of African American Men. 1984, the first crime prevention specialist for the state of Florida here in Tampa, operating the first all African American male program in Hillsborough County, in the Hillsborough County school system from 1990. So I've been doing this for 30 years. Now, 70 million people in the world work outside of their home country. This is the greatest time in human history. People are coming together from all over the world and are interacting with each other. You got a phone call the other day from a man or a woman in India telling you about your personal business, about your credit card, and know everything about you, can hardly speak English. You have people coming to this country benefiting off of the labor of your ancestors. And we languish in ignorance. Not all of us, but too large a segment of our community has split loyalties. They want police service, but they ain't gonna snitch on nobody. Come on. They call each other niggas all day long, but if a white boy calls them a nigga, it's a fight. You can't have it both ways. Our best stands on our history, our culture, and our values. We are the most American people in this society. So we stand on our values and what we represented and what our ancestors fought for, and what everybody on this panel benefited from was a push for quality education, a push for dignity, a push for respect, a push to be the best that our people could ask for. So if we stand on the values and the culture that we were brought to understand and develop in this society, we can't win because the world is getting smaller and we have an opportunity based on the problems that we have encountered, have a will and a desire to move further and rid our community of the ignorance that now exists in it.
Good evening, my name is Darla Saunders. I'm the founder of Advocates for Safer Communities Incorporated. Advocates for Safer Communities Incorporated actually provide education to survivors, advertisements, and to the victims' families. We provide support and education. We also provide support to kids in Hillsborough County schools and all around Hillsborough County, providing information and prevention on safety and against homicide. The reason that I'm here, and I thank you for having me here, is that I'm also a parent who lost a child to homicide right here in Hillsborough County, about 4 or 5 blocks away from where I lived at the time. And I would like to tell you that as a parent, it's one of the most horrific things that could ever happen to you. And as a result of that, we ended up moving from where we lived all those years, farther out, because the family feared for our safety, because I was out to find the people who killed my son. So in order to turn that around, I had to do something positive. So doing something positive was to go out and talk to you and to families about homicide and about gun violence. And, you know, after doing that, things kind of turned around for me. And I felt good about it because I was able to give something back to families in hopes that they would do something more to keep their children safe, since I wasn't able to keep my child safe at the time. What I will say is that I think that we should do more with our children, and it doesn't just take the parents at home to do it or the grandparents at home to do it. We need to do it as a community. We need to stop and talk to these youth. We need to let them know that we care about them. We need to talk to them about the snitch issue, because this is what's keeping us from solving crimes. Right now, Isaiah's case is unsolved, and we want to get that solved, as well as many other families out there who are like us, who are suffering, who are hurt because they lost their child to homicide. So I thank you for having me here, and I hope that we can work together to do something more for our community and for our children.
My name is Elliot Saunders. I'd like to start out by saying in Romans 8:31 it says, what then shall we say to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? That is our family motto, and also I am the co-founder and motivational speaker for Advocates for Safer Communities Incorporated. Did you know that since 1963, the year I was born, that we've had more children killed than soldiers in the wars? More black children killed than soldiers in the war. Did you know that the biggest age group is those from 15 to 19? And they are 30 times more likely to get killed than any other race by one another. More likely than international kids, than kids internationally to get killed by someone of their own race. We have a lot of work to do. It's time to quit giving lip service, roll up our sleeves, and get out on corners, get out of church. Well, we have to get out at 12:30, get out of church, and let's do something. There was a preacher on TV that said, don't just sit there, do something. This is also a pseudo model that we use, and there's a code, of what I like to call a black code, because the black code is in our neighborhood with our kids that if they see it, they don't want to tell it. I have a granddaughter at home that I teach every day, no matter what happens, no matter how it happens, no matter who it happens to, if you see it, tell it. More of us need to do that. Even me. We see a lot of things, we know a lot of things, but we'll sit back and we won't tell it. Jesus Christ was a man of justice. And I'll leave that just that way for you to ponder, because if you know anything about Jesus Christ, he's a man of justice. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Diane Montgomery. I'm the major of District 3. I just want to thank you so much for taking time out your busy schedule to be here. Being here means a lot to me, to be a part of this, to change the dynamics of what's going on. And one of the questions I was asked, what have you done? We've changed the dynamics of policing. We've changed where we are true crime fighters. We are arriving at these crimes when they're being shot at and victims are occurring. These officers are arriving in a great pace. In some cases, they are on scenes, and the majority of the times, we're able to take people in custody. They're risking their lives for you every single day. This is what we do. A lot of us might not like us, but you know what? You call us when you need us. What we do, I'm giving you a representation of what we do tonight, because many of my officers are here tonight. And all the way in the back, we have P.C. Davis, who is the school resource officer of Middleton. I have Lieutenant Moskowitz, who is one of my shift commanders. I have Lieutenant Calvin Johnson, who came here on his own time to be a part of this. I have Sergeant Bert Murray, who's my ROTS supervisor. I have Kenny Norris, who's one of my crime-fighting street patrol officers. I have Susan Bowers, who's over the Rich House, where each day we bring hope to kids that attend here. I have PIO Officer Janelle McGregor, who gives a message that we are here for you. I have Lieutenant Ant, who's another one of my shift commanders, and newly promoted Captain Ward is here as well. We are here for you. The second part of the question was, what can we do? What can you do? Let me tell you what you can do. In the city of Tampa, since January 1st, we've had 15 homicides. 11 were black, 8 was black on black crimes. 9 of those were in my district of District 3. Now let me tell you something. What you can do is this. When I go to these scenes and I see someone's child laying on the street, it saddens my heart. But what makes it even worse, when I see that that person on the street has become a part of the fiber of the neighborhood, when nobody cares. They walk around and then it's just like, okay. Now, when they thought, and let me say this again, when they thought in one of the shootings that it was a police officer involved shooting, that was about to run. Oh, it was all upset. Now, once they found out that was not the case, they went and got their children, they went and got chairs, and came down and it became a section. Now, that's when I talk about the fiber of the neighborhood. That's what you can do, change that. Change it where every life is important. It's not a part of the fiber. We can do this together, and we're here to help you do it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ernest Coney. I'm the CEO of the CDC of Tampa. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Daryl Daniels and the Derrick Brooks Charities for putting on this event, and of course, Owen Young for hosting it here. Just really glad to be here and see the community coming out. When you talk about what have organizations done, specifically the CDC of Tampa, we were birthed in May of 1992, and we were really birthed out of College Hill and Pasadena projects. When we looked at the neighborhoods, 50% of the kids didn't even graduate from high school, and only 6% of the kids were going on to college. That's a cycle of poverty that will just continue and continue unless you deal with those statistics. So what do? We started with drug marches. And I know a lot of the folks here in the audience may have been participants in those drug marches through the weed and seed. But we decided to take back the community and get people involved so that the grandmothers who were afraid at one point to come off their porch and really begin to come off their porch. We had the police department involved. We had leadership involved. We marched up and down Lake and 29th Street, 22nd Street, 34th Street to begin to take back the neighborhoods. And it was envisioned through our founder, Chloe Tony, who believed, like me and Maya, that if we want to take back the reproach, we have to build. No longer is it enough to just talk about problems, but we have to build. So with that, after that, we began doing programs. We had the Men to Boys program, which was a mentoring program for young men. We went on to have another youth leadership program. And remember the stats that I talked about. In our youth program, 100% of our kids graduate from high school and 90% go on to college. So we talk about transforming neighborhoods, you have to have young folks who have options in their lives. After that, we start building, because if you want to have a neighborhood that you're proud of, you can't have drug needles on the ground and dirty benches and dust bowls everywhere. And some of you who are from East Tampa, you may know that Rabbitfoot Bar on Lake and 28th Street, where you call it buckets of blood because so many young folks were killed there. Well, today, that's the Audrey Sparker Youth and Family Center, where we can count well over 500 kids that are going off to college. So there's a way to begin to transform the neighborhood through economic development and bringing the community together to really do that. We also began to look at housing because it takes a comprehensive approach. We do foreclosure prevention because if you move into a house and you lose your house, you're in trouble. Then kids begin to grow up and go to the same schools, same tracks, so they're not transiting. So there's a way to through economic development and community development, really begin to transform the neighborhoods.
Good to see everybody. I'm Richard Butler, the founder and president of the Get It Straight Foundation. We're the New Street Committee. We go to the dice games. We go all in the Robles Park where the Rich House at, where Ms. Bowers and them helping those young girls, and like Ms. Patty and Bruce But Not Broken Ministries, and a lot of other churches that's sitting on the corners, everybody's helping. But what we do is we go inside and talk with these young men and give them a chance of hope with our crime prevention program. We're an empowerment program. We will let these young men know that they are kings. We let them know that their last chance is not yesterday. We let them know that yesterday, their past is not going to determine their future. And we let them know that there's a real king on the inside of them. We spend time with them. But I'm also the president and owner of a tree service I really enjoyed tree service because I had probation a long time ago, never been in prison. But they always ask me about a level 2 background check. So when I hire these guys that they pay, I get so much response out of them. Now they're working in other places because I learned, because I used to be a driver trainer at Rinker C-Max. I took some of those things that I learned in those corporate jobs, and now I put it in, and we got like 12 employees that work for us. So if you're gonna feed them, then you can talk to them. But that's what about our shit. You got to feed them. I mean, these guys, young boys, we want them to stop doing so many things, but we're not gonna feed them. They got to eat. They got to eat. So we do a day labor. And you know, like I tell them all the time, you know, they can't run background checks on the grass and the trees, because that belongs to the law. So go get your lawnmower and start cutting the grass instead of sell the grass. Don't grow the weed, buy weed either. So we go and tell them that so they won't have felonies, so they won't blow their opportunities. Because without a chance, none of us will be nothing. All of us want to pay our bills. You give one of these young men a chance to make $10 an hour or $8 an hour, give them something to do, and get become your best friend, you'll find out some things, but that's what we can do, and that's what we do. And we, like the season don't change, Mr. Butler, so well, the water belongs to the Lord. Get your pressure washer and wash all these sidewalks. We don't accept no excuses, but we spend time with them. Every fourth Saturday, we take some of the turnaround youth to the Applebee's. They let them sit down and watch those real big screen TVs and stuff, because all of them want to be athletes, but they don't know number, give them number 6. So we take them to Outback, and we let them learn how to talk to the waitress. Mr. Butler, I'm out of tea. Well, talk to him, because I don't work here. Yeah. So we gonna put our foot down, and that's what we do. We got another man in our program, he sell fruit. They don't buy up the drugs, buy up the fruit. Get you some water, make you a pepper. They don't want to hear us unless we're gonna feed them.
My name is Ron Ellis. I'm a pastor, teaching coach, author, investor, etc. I have a program which I'm the CEO and founder of. It's called BAM, which is BAM International. Very well known and popular through the school system, through the community. Most of the kids, the majority of the young people know about BAM. They request BAM. They want BAM. And the reason why they want BAM and they want to hear about BAM, such as Middleton High School, their program is their football team requested BAM, Onward of the chaplain of Onward football team. They requested BAM to come into Onward High School for the football team to take them to the next level. BAM is about believing, achieving, and maximizing. That's what BAM is about. The BAM is an outreach program that teaches effective leadership skills to people of all ages and backgrounds. The BAM principle is about believing in oneself, achieving your goals and dreams, and maximizing your greatest potential. Exercising these principles will guarantee your ability to win in life. The mission of BAM is to unlock the potential of individuals and organizations through leadership training, mentoring, and vision expansion. The goal of BAM is to equip individuals and organizations with the necessary tools to believe, achieve, and maximize their effectiveness in their life, family, work, and community. BAM is a proven program in this community. Everyone knows about BAM, especially the young folks. They know about believing, achieving, and maximizing. They have experienced it, and that's what we all about. The BAM team, we are about change, not talk. We're about change, empowerment, and I do believe this: we can talk, but if you don't change your thinking, you'll never change your action. And that's what the BAM mentorship program is all about. It's changing. Now, I want to say this. I am a product of this community. I was born and raised in Jackson Heights. Frank Reddick, down on in the middle there, we used to be friends. I guess he forgot about position. You act like sometimes you don't know, but that's all right. That's all right. But let me share some with you. He was a man of vision, though. I remember we sitting on the porch talking about our vision. I'm a man of vision. Just want to let you know that BAM is all about confidence, about strength, about courage. BAM principle is about how to change your situation to the next level. Talk is cheap, but believing can make a difference. I love this guy right here because he is about action. Talk is cheap. What you're going to do is the key. What are you going to implement into a program that will enhance these children to believe, achieve, and maximize? I love to say break it down because that means BAM. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Back.
Thank you. So our panelists, it is now time to have the dialogue, the Q&A with you, the community. Let me say this. There are many of you in the audience, as I look into the audience, look into the community, who are doing great things. Let me highlight the fact that there are many people doing great things. That's why we have vendors out front. I don't want anyone to say no one is doing anything. There's a lot of things being done that many people don't know about. I want to acknowledge Mike Mel, who has been working with young men in this community forever. I want to acknowledge Mr. Jerome Ryan, the President and CEO of the Tampa Housing Authority, who has turned around crime in the housing authority. I want to acknowledge Mr. Ken Mulgrove, who is the founder of the first black male program at Wake High School. And two people, Dr. Barrett, who make sure that whatever we do can always be documented and authenticated. Both Dr. Briscoes, who are retired from the University of South Florida. And certainly, last but not least, if I've forgotten anybody, please forgive me, the community orator, the leader of the community, the man whose voice we've heard for years on WTMP. A man that taught me a lot, Mr. Kennedy Watt. Here are the rules for engagement this evening. We want to hear from you, we want to speak with you, we want to talk to you. And on each aisle, you will see a microphone. I'm going to ask that you come up to the microphone if you have a question or a constructive conversation or dialogue or comment. If you have a question, you can ask it of the panel and we will allow the panel to address your question. Please remember, please be advised that we are not going to solve all the problems tonight. It is the beginning of a dialogue as been stated by many people, including Councilman Frank Reddick. If you do not want to approach the microphone, there are index cards that will be passed out. I'm going to ask that if you write your question or comment on the index card, please write large and legibly. Tomorrow I have a birthday and I've already forgotten most of the things that I already know. So, and my eyes is one of the first things to go. So please, if you have a question, there are index cards being passed out, and if you have a comment or question, there are microphones on each side. I'm going to ask that you state your name and ask your question to the community, to the panel. One question at a time. One question. If you ask that question and it is addressed, then if you have another question, you will have to go back to the end of the line for others to ask questions. And I'm going to ask the panelists, and there are two microphones there. If you want to address that question, let us know. Okay? We will start with the community moderator, Mr. Denny B. Wild. I'm sorry, Mr. Fred Hearns was first. We will start with Mr. Fred Hearns, followed by Mr. Denny B. Wild. Fred Hearns.
Daniels. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
One of the last things that Mr. Coney said was, we need the resources. We need to focus on the economics of this community. And while a lot of the problems that we talked about, and you have an excellent panel, you're familiar with all of this, while a lot of these problems exist north of Kennedy, I'm convinced that a lot of the solutions exist south of Kennedy. That's where the resources are. We all know that. And as Dr. Berry alluded to, we inherited the legacy of Jim Crow. And let's not fool ourselves. It's still as powerful today as it ever was. So while I don't advocate asking for a handout, I do believe that, I think it would be very helpful if some committee, some group would come together. As a result of this meeting tonight, Mr. Ray said there will be follow-up meetings, a group to approach the business community, because government can't do it all. We know that. We're still feeling the effects of the recession. So a lot of the excellent programs that we've had, the budgets have been slashed. We know that. This business community has a responsibility to our young people and to all of us. So I hope someone will approach them. We have a good friend now here in the Chamber of Commerce, Santiago Carrada, a good man. Somebody needs to approach him and get the business community involved so we can put some young people back to work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That was part of what I taught that young man. If not working one bit, you make it work another. I want to have the panel to deal with this question. I'm going to frame it, hopefully, in a way to give you the context of how I'm asking it. Earlier, when Principal Owens was he spoke of common core values. That struck a chord with me because I had asked myself, how did we get through all of the things that were far worse than what they are now? And when the history professor spoke, that again caused me to go back to how did we get through? And Principal Owens, when you said common core values, so I'd like the group to respond to it. And Mr. Wallace Shabazz had a couple of people with him earlier, including a young man who said that we had to do something with the grass and kept moving. He's in Mr. Shabazz's group, and I hope that we'll use Mr. Shabazz and everybody there. But here, the question again is this: are the churches places where we can establish common core values? Again, the context of the question. And I came to try to see if we can get some answers. I understand all those statistics. They don't mean much to me now. Can we then use our churches to focus, as the professor said, to speak to what the Principal Owens said, and that is, can we get to common core values? Because I suspect that the common core values are those things that brought us over, kept us going, moved us to the point where we are now. And is the place the church?
If I can get two panelists to answer Mr. Deputy Wild's question. Make sure you pass the microphone down, please.
common cold there is one thing about the church, and if you know our history, first thing the slaves did when they came out of slavery was establish churches and schools. And all of those were based on character, lifestyles, and things to help us get to the next level. Like I said earlier, we have a captivated audience, and just about everybody in that church touches someone's lives. They touch the young men that we see in trouble, whether it's a cousin, grandmother, grandfather, auntie, mother and father, they do touch them. So if we do that, I think we can help try and turn things around. But we have to do more than lip service, like the young man said. We have to be dedicated. We cannot just come out and go to one meeting. At the program I operate, we operate 10 months a year. We are there every Saturday. Every Saturday. And I have volunteers in my group that have been there for all of the 25 years. So it's a dedication. And I think a lot of our problems, we don't dedicate ourselves enough to get the job done.
I'll be brief. I don't think that the churches can do it alone. I think the problem is too broad and too systemic. I'd like to go back to some numbers, but I would dare say, anecdotally, that the majority of people who are in church are female and not male. And Tampa is a very large city not to have an urban league that's active. You had an urban league here in 1922, and the model for the urban league was not alms, but opportunity. So not ask my hand now, not alms, but opportunity. Started here in 1922, Blanche Armwood High School was the head of the National Urban League, the Tampa Urban League. And the person that took over for her after she left, 1926, was a Morehouse graduate. I know Mr. Wiles, and he was Benjamin E. Mays, exactly, Dr. Mays. And so they did a tremendous amount of good for African Americans in Tampa. And so that was one very structured organization in helping the community for years, and it doesn't exist anymore. As many of the panelists suggested, there are a lot of different organizations that are working, but as Mr. Hearn has alluded to, this is a larger problem that we're not going to be able to address. Certainly there are things that we need to do. I'm not suggesting that, but there are larger problems that we're going to have to bring the larger community into. Other ethnic groups had the same issue. You look at the Irish historically, there is a very interesting book that I recommend to you called The Condemnation of Blackness. The Condemnation of Blackness by Race, Crime, and Urban America. It's by Professor Khalil Muhammad. He used to be at Indiana University. We brought him down here to speak from Hillsborough Community College. There are things that are very large. We have a history. It's systemic, but it can be addressed. This is a great start, and it needs to continue. But I think we need to recognize it's a much, much broader problem. The thing that, I'm not an angry black man. I'm an annoyed black man. I'm annoyed because a lot of times people are trying to tell me that black folks aren't concerned about black on black crime. We've always been concerned about that. Even Jesse Jackson alluded to that issue years ago. And the claim is that we don't care or we're not cognizant of that. We recognize it. We've got to figure out how to address it. And hopefully we can get some answers here tonight.
One of the things that I think as a community, the adults in the community are going to have to step up to the plate and be the adults. We've got to walk the talk. We can't be our children's friends. We can't be afraid to discipline them with dignity. We have got to make sure that the things that we say that we believe in, that we emulate and that we model and that we sustain in our conversations with them. We can't be afraid to say no when it's right to say no. We can't be afraid to say, I'm coming to school and sit in your classroom, it takes that to make sure that you do what you have to do. We have relegated too much of the values, our own rights as parents, back to our children. And the time has to come now that we, the adults, must stand up and be the adults. And that's where the values are going to have to grow, and that's where they're going to have to move from, and we've got to start tonight being those parents. Thank you.
Bishop Pettit.
Good evening. I'm Bishop Michelle B. Patty. I'm one of the co-founders with Corey Felton of Crump for Christ Mentoring Ministry. But I come tonight on a note of a personal nature. First of all, I want to say I'm glad that Councilman Reddick and each and every one of you, I've been waiting for this panel since 1993, when my son was murdered, Byron Patty, Sr. His son was 8 months old at the time of his death. He was 21. In 1993, I was told by the police department that God would take care of him. But being a woman of great faith, I knew that works without prayers without works was dead. So we got out in the community, family and friends, and we had to go door to door. We had to find the murderer of our son. And then here in 2010, our grandbaby, who was 8 months old, he was murdered. But there was a change here in Tampa, because before that night was over, Byron Patty Jr., people were calling me on the phone. I'm talking about young people now. The murderer, this is his name, this is where he's at. So there has been some great strides. My reality right now as a family, when we go to the graveyard, we're seeing side by side, son, grandson, who was murdered in these streets. But I'm not just crying out for them. There are also two murderers that have life sentences, and these young men was 18 and 19 years old. Their lives are over and done with. This panel, we gotta move, as we say in the church, from the church house to the street. I would like for us to take off our suits, to go out into Roberts Park. I'm not afraid. People was telling me that you could be murdered, you could be killed, but I walked with the king, so I wasn't worried about that. It was about finding justice for both guys. So we have got to stop waiting for folks to come in here, because right now our community distrusts everyone, because there have not been anyone to really seem to care about the black on black crime. We talk it not tonight, but the reality of those mothers who murderers have not been found, they were told just like me, let's just pray, because black folks are praying folks. But right now it's time to take this panel, this community, and go right here in the neighborhood. You don't even have to go that far, and start knocking on doors and talking to not only our youth, but we got to talk to the children who bear these youth, because these were babies, heavy babies, and they can't teach anything because they don't know anything. So we have got to get back to the village, raising children, and I'm looking around tonight, I see a lot of pastors here, a lot of preachers, and I stand as a bishop and say I'm ashamed, because they have not brought them in by the veins. They have not brought them in by the busload, because in every church, there's a child that has been murdered, or somebody that murdered that child. And where are the people? Where are we? So don't be discouraged, panel. This is the beginning. It should not be the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle Patty. Let's take it before our wives about to respond. Michelle Patty brought up a lot of issues, and a lot of issues are being addressed here. What we need to do, and we're trying to find a way to multiply ourselves. There are great things that are being done in the community. Walk in the streets. I started doing that with Bobby Bowden in the 80s. Fred Herman, before they opened the school, we knocked on every door in this community. Walter Niles and I knocked on every door in the old Ponce in College Hill, Central Park. There are many things that we have done, but there still remains the opportunity for us to continue to do more. I want to stress the fact that there are things going on in our community, but as Ms. Michelle Patty said, there's a need for more. And this is a beginning tonight. So we're going to allow Mr. Wally Shabazz to respond, and then I'm going to ask a question that was put on the index card, and then young man, you'll be next. Thank you, sir.
We're in an environment right now, Middleton High School. Great things going on in this environment that spill out into the community. We know that at one time it was a D school, and it was had a horrible reputation. And there were a lot of thugs running around that went to the school or after school were influencing the students who do go to the school, who did go to the school. And because of the leadership of Principal Young and his community outreach effort, the school is now a B school, and the reputation, and the reputation in the community is they ain't playing at Middleton. So there's some blueprints that are working, and Middleton can serve as a model for how we can improve our community. He was told by the education people out of Tallahassee that not to worry about the community, only focus on the schools. But his insight and understanding knew that they were one and the same. So he and his people, every day, not some days, every day, are out when school ends and are riding the community. And the gents in the community stop and speak to Mr. Young, his administrators, and anyone else who's with him. And he has quelled a disposition surrounding this environment and has created peace. So there are models that work. And there are people who are going out in the community every day, in the educational environment and in the communal environment, and are making a difference. So we need to continue to support this effort here in Middleton, improve upon it, and grow it throughout the city.
Thank you, Mr. Shabazz. And to add to that, outside they are requesting people to sign up for Great American Teaching. Let me say this as a served speaker and with one served speaker of the year. We need more speakers in our schools. We need more people, not just for Great American Teaching, but for every day. I look at many people in this auditorium, Mr. Shabazz, Mr. Shea Butler, like Mel, who come out here, work with Mr. Young, to work with our African American boys. So they have a table outside. Middleton didn't ask for this, I'm doing this. And ask you to please make a commitment, make it once a month, to come out to talk to some young men and young women. Because I want to tell you this, if you're on this side of the ground, and you can feed yourself, you're not running from the law, you have something positive to tell these young people. Everybody in here can contribute. I don't care what your title is or your education. You can contribute to our schools, and not just Middleton, all of our schools in our community. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Keith Ballard. I'm the Executive Director of Second Chance Center for Boys, which is a juvenile diversion and prevention program here in Hillsborough County. I want to start off by saying I think what Senator Joyner said to begin this conversation with was very key to some of the ills that we face in our community. She talked about it being a holistic issue, and she's very correct. I want to preface my comment by saying I think a lot of the comments that we've made thus far have been very anecdotal. And if we avoid missing the empirical data that talks about crime in our black community, then we're missing the mark. Empirical data has said that there needs to be a gender-responsive approach to dealing with black on black crime. That being said, that men who commit crime, there needs to be men-focused programs that deal with those who commit crime. The other piece that empirical data says that there needs to be a culturally responsive approach to dealing with crime in our community. So again, I think what the gentleman who started off with the conversation talked about resources. Those that understand the critical issues that our community deals with are those that need to be dealing with the issues within our community. One, we have a number of organizations, we're inundated with organizations in this community who are doing great work, but the capacity into which they can make a greater impact is limited due to the funding. So we cannot avoid the empirical data that says community-based programs, those within the communities, are making the largest impact and are most effective with dealing with issues pertaining to our community. So one of the things and one of the suggestions that I think needs to be made is that there needs to be an intermediary that handles that funding that would be dispersed within those community programs. We can't have larger institutional organizations dictating who gets the funding. For years and years on end, certain organizations have been getting large amounts of funding, millions of dollars, and the issues within our communities have remained prevalent. So what I'm saying is that I should just there be an intermediary, maybe the CDC, someone who understands the cultural impact that these organizations that are already doing good work, but lack the capacity to do so, can make that impact that we can deal with black and black crime in our community.
Thank you. Before I allow Ms. Connie Burke to ask her question, the question was given to me to ask from the Get It Straight Foundation. Are you funded or are you self-sufficient, and how do you do it?
Well, we're independently funded, and we have a lot of partners in the community. The late great A. Brown always told me, don't go and bother with the people money, Reshape. He said, because for a good cause, folks will help you. And the help is coming from the Lord that really is in our strength. And in our program, we have to let them know that if it had not been for the Lord who was on our side, where would we be? So when we take these young boys into the Outback Steakhouse, and we sit down and take them over there to Fleming, some of the ones that's over 21 now, I'm proud to say that Antonio Crawford was one of the first kids from in our program over at the Mount Pleasant at the charter school. He's playing for the University of Miami right now. Some things that go unnoticed because, you know, we don't get awards, but we waiting on a reward. Now, my brother told me that, and he encouraged me every day. It's so many of y'all in here, you know, and just with a little bit of finances, it will help. And I just want to acknowledge the family of the most recent crime at the Family Dollar. We was all in South Carolina, and the pain that, you know, the family here and everybody here, Saunders, but like we were saying about the funding, if we can go put $5 million on a circle down there in the street, sure, we can help the boy. I think you know that 40 grand a year is the Department of Collection, not correction. It can't be correction if it's all that collection. Amen?
I mean, the Department of Collection, 40 grand a year to get these boys baloney. I mean, then you say, well, we're gonna give them a career. Well, when you get out, ain't nobody gonna hire you. So, what is in your career? We have to be good with our hands,
like the Bible used to tell us. That's why we're doing these things with the lawnmower system and the fruit system. Because guess what? Nobody gonna pay their bills. So we got to feed them.
And brother, I understand what you're talking about. I'm going on in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you, appreciate brother. Ms. Connie Burke, if you have a question, and then if you don't, I'm going to ask Owen Young to respond. Ms. Connie Burke.
Yes, sir. First, I really want to appreciate brother's comments because he understands. Unfortunately, crime does pay, and it has paid well on our political leaders that use criminal statistics to enhance their own careers. Yes, they do it then, and they still do it now. Yes, they do it now when they're writing grants, and many of the people that they're writing all the statistical information on won't benefit at all. At all. Right now in the legislature, a brother that wants to start a business, even cutting hair, might have a problem because he's been identified as a felon. And we got legislative leaders that know all this information. So the reason why young people ain't united with us because they recognize a lot of the BS. Now what we need, in my opinion, is a consortium. All this money, since 1963, we've been getting a lot of social engineering going on and a lot of finance. And only a handful of people have benefited. We need to know as a community who's getting what. And we need to be able to grade them to see if they still need to be able to get it. It don't matter if you know, and this is not you, brother, Cam Bondi, Bill Clinton, or Barack Obama. If it's not helping our community, you don't need the money. And too many people is getting money, some on this panel, getting money. Their political careers is being filtered on by talking against the issues of the community. And so I just couldn't
any longer. It did not spend itself. So we could build a model here in Tampa, but the model has to be with a lot of honesty. If you get this federal dollar and it's supposed to impact and impoverish those that live in poverty, we got to see it helping the community and not yourselves and not your staff. Thank you.
I will definitely segue into my response that yes, it can be about money. I truly believe that the work that's taking place here at Middleton High School is a miracle. We speak to the soul of men. That whole idea of thug, we defy that whole meaning, that mentality of what a child might believe that to be, and then we model for them manhood, and as a community school, we understand that we're not good at everything. We do something very well, but having the opportunity of the community school to bring in experts who do things very well at no charge. Wally Shabazz has been with me working with our young men since I stepped foot on this campus. Overnight, looking at the souls of children transformed, looking at a school that children did not have a vision or direction of who they were. Working with Rishi Butler, you feel the spirit that he presents. He mesmerized our children. And he gives them a different picture, a different image, and a sense of hope, and we transition that despair. We speak their language. We confirm their existence. We're consistent with them. And it's not just about instruction up front. It's about tapping into the souls of our children. So Jenny, when you speak about core values, that's been the transformation of Middleton High School. It hasn't been a charade. It hasn't been, it's been love. And it's not that idea of love that it's that all emotional love. We kick that behind, we have to kick that behind. But at the same time, we hug them when we need to hug them. And we pierce through that idea, that shell of thugism. Because at the core, they're beautiful children, and they're brilliant children. And Middleton's just getting started. And I want to just take this opportunity, because I know there's a lot of people on this panel to thank the organizations. From TPD, I have a police officer, P.C. Davis. He's an instructional leader here. He breaks down the barriers of the conflict between the police and our children. He couldn't be here with me if he didn't love kids. So, Jay, I think your question is right on point. I think that we have to begin. I think Middleton will be a model for this country, both on the STEM and on the traditional side. Because our traditional kids, they can kick butt also. Our robotics team, #1 in the world. We beat Japan, China, Australia, Canada, and I can go down the list. And I'll close with this. Building this community, Middleton has an open door policy. And that doesn't mean we can house every organization, but we can share with you some of the ills. And if you have an expertise with that ill, it may not be in the schoolhouse, but if it's somewhere in the community that impact children, that impact Middleton, we could use your support and your work.
Thank you, Gordon. As we speak, I want to remind you to think of a question. But I want to say this. I want to make it clear that there is not a discord here. We know that there are many ways to reduce crime in our community. Many people are doing many different things. This was not a one entity that created the problem in our community. It will not be one entity to solve the problem. That's why I'm glad I didn't hear somebody say the only way. I want to acknowledge Mr. Norman Campbell, who was the former Chief Probation Officer of the Department of Juvenile Justice. Give him a round of applause. Let me say this. For 26 years, we've been taking those young people and we fought. Now we have a civil citation program. It's okay if somebody else wants to take the credit for it. But we believe that our kids should not be penalized the first time. We want to give them behavior modification training and education. Somebody just recently wrote an editorial and said, well, we need to talk about anger management. I've had people right here on this panel help me teach anger management in one location for the past 26 years. We're already doing that. We used to do programs at Roble Park, Central Park. It's not enough. Let me make that clear. It's not enough. But I want to make sure that we don't leave here thinking nobody is doing anything. People are doing a lot of things, but it's not enough. Let me say that again. It's not enough. And the reason why we have the multitude here, because Proverbs 11:14 says, in the multitude of many counselors, there is safety. No one person has the answer. It is all of us to help reduce this black on black or crime community problem. Young man, your turn. Thank you.
Good evening, panel. My name is Mr. Jay McNair. I'm the student intervention specialist over at Young Middle School. And I deal with young men every day, and I kind of know what we're all here to do and what we're all, what's in our hearts to do right. I have a question for the panel. It seems like since the 80s, since the height of black on black crime has gone up, it seems like it's always been the pink elephant in the room, besides this room. Every room, in every important room, up to probably the White House. So I would like to know, what are we doing, or what can we do to make this issue a true community issue? It's a black community issue, of course, but we can only do so much. What are we doing to get to other communities, or do they even know that it's an issue, or do they even care that it's an issue? What are we doing to bring it to them to help us solve the problem? Because like my man just said, nobody has the right answer. Well, there's not only one answer, but we can't, and we have not so far come up with an answer within us. What can we do to get help at the county level, at the city level, at the state level, and then at the highest level? What are we doing, and what can we do?
I want to say I've been reminded that we have about 15 minutes, and we have to adhere to the rules. We are guests, and they eventually have to close up. Okay, so if somebody wants to answer that question, and we give these other community residents the opportunity to ask a question, please remember to ask a question, because time is of the essence. One person and answer.
I want to let you know that I am here from the state, and as long as I am of the state, as a state representative, I will be working to bring resources home that used to come home. I said that in my first statement, and that if you know me, if you don't know me, most of the people here do, and they know that I work for you. You sent me there, I work for you. Thank you.
You know, since '92, we've been bringing money home from black on black crime in this community. It continues to get worse. Haven't done much change in anything. And there are Daniels with Third Relief, now we don't have Third Relief, now there's Roots Foundation taking that mantle in this community, continue to do that with Third Relief across the state. We just sit here and say the government can't do everything because funds are basically dwindled with these type of programs. Michelle Petty basically talked about churches. Deacon Ford, who's my deacon at my church, at New Mount Zion, talked about his program he has at his church. This is only the beginning. We're going to have to come together, whether it's churches, organizations like Mr. Butler has, the organization that Mr. Wally Shabazz has, our police department, our sheriff's department, each and every one of us, this is the start, the beginning to start working together in the community, regardless if you're government or private entity or whatever, to make these things happen. Mr. Moore just talked about how Middleton turned around. You know what I did in my office? He has a young man, I think his name is Earl Harris. I brought him into my office because Earl had an interest in politics. He comes from a broken home. I hope he never runs against me because he whooped my butt. The boy is very smart. He just had an interest, and I said, come in and let's talk. He had an internship this year with the property appraiser in Hillsborough County because he wanted to have an interest. That's what we as elected officials could do. It doesn't take money to do that. It just takes an opportunity to open the door and do that. But we as a community, regardless of whatever you do, whatever business that you're in, we're gonna have to work together to make these things happen. Government can't do it by itself. These politicians can't do it by themselves. Just because you might be just one person does not mean you can't do anything. Do something. Do something. Let's come together again. Councilman Reddick just said we're gonna do this in West Tampa. That's the start here. We'll probably do something different as we go into West Tampa, other parts of the community, but we're gonna have to come together, whatever it is, and make these things happen. Fred Hurst talked about across Kennedy Boulevard and what's happening over there. Business people are concerned. But we gotta take their doorstep and say, look, whatever affects this community affects you, because you know why? Economic development wants to come to Hillsborough County. Mr. Myers just opened up in our area. Amazon's coming to this county, it's not our area. But if we continue to have the crime we're having, nothing's coming to this area, nobody's getting any jobs. Let them know that. We start talking about pocketbooks across Kennedy Boulevard, they understand that. They don't understand nothing else, they understand all by God. So we gotta come together and work as a community. I mean, regardless, we gotta work.
Thank you. Before Ms. Edgecombe responds, Principal Owen Young told me to remind you all that young man that Commissioner Miller spoke about will be joining him going to Washington, D.C. to meet with Education Secretary Arnie Johnson. Ms. Edgecombe, and then we're going to ask a question from the community. Ladies and gentlemen, I know there are many questions, and I want to once again emphasize we cannot cover it all tonight. Ms. Edgecombe, and then we're going to ask a question.
This really is not an answer to the question that the young man asked. But this is the plea, since Councilman Reddick said there's going to be another meeting. I hope that we will have some young people as part of this panel. We need to hear their voices, and it's important that they be part of this conversation. I think in many ways, some of the answers that we're looking for, some of the solutions that we're seeking will come from the mouths of babes. There are the young people who have been affected in this community, so my plea is, the next time, let's invite some young people, best and the brightest, but some of those who are struggling, so they can tell us what it is that they need.
Thank you, Ms. Edgecombe. Give it your name and your question, please. We're going to get to questions because we have to wrap up.
And the Crown Washington. We are working every day with Mr. Young at evening time, when the afternoon when the kids are out of school, and with the resource officer, the community as well. On yesterday, I was doing my exercise, taking a walk. I found 3 students that had skipped school, and I couldn't reach PC, but I was able to reach the other resource officer that works here. So I hope he grabbed them to reach the students. But we stand here to tell you that there has been a change in our community, a great change. But we are still asking for help as far as from the TPE. So we're give you an open invitation to come out to our next Crime Watch walk, which will be on Friday and Saturday. Because we're taking back our community. And it's not just my kids, it's 57 units, but I consider all the kids to be my kids, our kids.
Thank you.
I just want everybody, if you can, if you live over here in the City Black and Blue, if it is in the city, if you want to take part in our night walk on Friday, Saturday, please contact Ms. Richardson at City Black and Blue.
Thank you, ma'am. Let us give a round of applause for what they have done in City Black and Blue. Let me say this really fast because it needs to be said in this community. One of the most notorious bullying cases in the country occurred in this county at Walker Middle School. We had 4 people charged with attempted sexual battery. The charges were ultimately reduced to felony battery. 2 of the young men, both African American, were convicted and put on 4 years of adult probation. One of those young men, I know his mother. Listen to this, she happened to be a police officer. He came to my office, nobody would work with. And we sat down and we came up with a plan that we had to follow for 4 years. And under the guidance of Mr. Mulgrew and Blake and us in the community, this young man attended ceremony by 61 people, including the former president of Florida A&M, Dr. Walter Smith. Today, he is in engineering school at Florida A&M University. We have to get in the boat with these young people. We have to do it beforehand, and we have to do it when they get in trouble. And I've always said, we can't turn our back on the young people because none of our kids are expendable. Your question and direct answer for the panel.
My name is Denise James, and I want to really thank each of you who are on the panel for your roles and what you're doing as far as being here and what you do to help us in your respective roles when you're not here. Thank you. But we know, despite all of that, you can't do it all. We have to help you in some way, as many ways as we can. Mr. Butler, you're right when you say that our kids have to eat. Now, there's so many who can do things and keep them in school, but when that doesn't work, and they get out of school, and they get in trouble, and they go to jail, and they come home, they face an uphill battle when they have to fill out those applications that and ask, have you ever been arrested? Nobody wants to be bothered with you. So, I applaud you, because just because a person has been to jail doesn't mean that they don't get hungry. They still get hungry. So what you may want to do and what I would like to ask, if perhaps you can make some suggestions at some point, probably not tonight, to our leadership in our community on what we can do to help you get more of what you're doing to provide the kind of services that you're doing. You have 12 men now, and I applaud you on that. But what can the community do to help you so that young men and women have places to go?
I've been instructed, ladies and gentlemen, 20 seconds. Nobody else after the 20 seconds. We have to make sure we pay attention to the time. Please.
Well, what I think was we could get more from, well, we're in the process, but my prayer is to hire every convicted felon that I can if he won't work. That's my prayer, that's my dream, because like I told you, they told me I wouldn't be nothing. But they told me I was going to prison. Guess what? I ain't been yet. Because somebody's been praying for me. So if we get the tattoos off their legs and get back on your knees, keep praying, go on your body, sow a seed in the community, not in the church all the time.
Thank you. Mr. Coney, real fast, and then 20 seconds, ladies and gentlemen.
Just real quick, one of the things that we have a problem with is, I believe, being strategic. Oftentimes we work in silos. So at the CDC of Tampa, we do programs where we go into the prison. And then when those guys come out, we also can pay employers up to $1,000 to employ them. So if we all begin to come together and say, okay, I can be an employer, okay, I have subsidized employment, okay, I have a training program, and we can really come together and create a collaborative. We have Dr. Briscoe sitting here. If we all come together and create a plan and a collaborative model, money will come to a collaborative model. Nobody's going to fund anything that doesn't have outcomes and doesn't produce them. But we can come together as a community. The answer won't come from outside. It's going to come from our community.
And remember, ladies and gentlemen, there are 11 different players on the football team, but they are one team, 11 different people on the field. So it's not one person and one player. Yes, sir. And tonight is the start of football season, but that's not the reason we have to exit the building. We want to make sure that this is not, that we don't go past our allotted time, because you do have personnel that the district has to pay. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. My question is this here. My name is Darren Watson, and I'm not caught up in titles. I don't need to say I'm reverend or assistant pastor, nothing like that. My question is, I'm in the community. I work for CDC. I worked for CDC back in the day. Boys and men, I've been mentoring for a long time in my life. But I know for a fact that our children have to eat, because a lot of children want to go out and buy Nikes and buy these expensive shoes. But my mama bought it for me, and she taught me how to work. My question to Les Miller, to Mr. Frank Reddy, is this here. I started a business 4 years ago, Big Boss of Fruit Man. And I go through changes to get help, but I built it from the ground up. I don't buy weed no more, I buy fruit. I ain't never been in jail, been there one time, never convicted, and I came out and I changed the way I think. My mindset had to change.
Okay, I need to get to your question.
My question is that I need help to employ some people. I need help to employ these young men to go to work because they need a job. We all got bills to pay, we got to pay bills, we got to eat. I want to know how is the community going to help us fund these young men.
And they said that's not a quick question, and then we'll gladly speak to you after the forum. Yes, sir.
Okay, one of the greatest empirical indicators of poverty among our people is the single-parent household. It's a great elephant in the room. If we're going to be measuring things empirically, we know that before the war on poverty, before a lot of tax dollars were spent on direct welfare, only 1 out of every 4 of our black children was born to a single-parent household. Now, nearly 73% of our children are born in single-parent households. When are we going to get to the point where we recognize that direct funding, that direct welfare is actually killing our people group? So that individual initiative can kick back in again, so that fathers can be honored in their homes as being providers. So long as there's this free welfare going to the ladies, how in the world are men going to feel valued in their own home? Furthermore, the power of the church is in recovery. If the government keeps giving free money to people, the very help of the church to reach out and is going to be seen as something that's expected. Y'all are expected to do that.
Well, let me allow a quick second. Mr. Wally Shabazz, will you answer his question, please?
90% of the homes had a mother and a father in the African American community. 1960, 80% of the homes had a mother and a father. Today, 30-some-odd%. America is about what you do for yourself first. So I don't give somebody else destiny over me. I have to take control of my own destiny. So regardless of the programs that the government provides to maintain single-headed households, what we gonna do?
Thank you.
So the men have a responsibility to be men. The buck and the bull elephant.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
We have over 140 black churches. How can you as members here get your church to bring 10 youth to the next meeting? And every Monday, the church has put over $1 million in the bank that they can come up and generate a business to help our community. But it has to come from the members. You pay your tithes and your offering. So what are you doing to force your pastor to do what they should do and according to what the gospel says? We cannot talk about the gospel. We got to do what the gospel says.
I'm going to briefly allow Mr. Reddy to answer that question because once we had a community meeting, we did have a branch of the church to be, Mr. Reddy. Oh, you want to table that discussion? Okay. All right. Ms. Constance Bryant and Mr. Light Malcolm, and then we'll go from there.
Good evening, I'm Attorney Constance Daniels. What I've heard here is everything except informing the community. I think in addition to everyone going to schools, if you all want to see a complete, diverse community, come to the 4th floor of the Hillsborough County Courthouse. You will see students from Middleton, people from Blade, from the school in South Tampa. What we need to do in this community is you need to also include those of us who are from the legal arena to educate you all and to educate the students, because an informed community is a strong community.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Mr. Light Malcolm, this young man, we got to wrap it up. Thank you.
Mr. Shabazz had it right. You can't have it both ways. You can't on the one hand say you want to prevent crime in the black community, then on the other hand criminalize black people for listening to music too loud. You can't on the one hand say that you want to prevent crime in the black community, but on the other hand criminalize black children for riding their bicycles down the wrong side of the street. You can't have it both ways. And when we talk about government money or government doing everything, the reality is that money that the government has is the people's money. That's the people's money. And it's intelligent and incumbent upon us to make sure that those dollars work for our prosperity as opposed to our punishment and our pain. If you look at the city's budget, it's a pie chart. If you look at the county's budget, it's a pie chart. Most of that money goes to the police department and not to housing, not to recreation, not to public parks, and the rest of it. It goes to pain and punishment as opposed to prosperity. And the people who write the policies have the ability to move that pie chart more to the direction of the people's favor as opposed to the penitentiary's favor.
Thank you, Mr. Miles. Thank you. Final question and statement, which will be followed by Mr. Frank Reddick and then the benediction. Thank you.
I'll be quick. My name is Darryl Starr. I want to challenge every man on the panel, including everybody here, to mentor one person, find one youth that's in the neighborhood you may know about that needs help. It's the mentor. Because it's one thing to say that we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Let us act upon it. Okay? Councilman Reddick, Cedric, I called them. They started mentoring me. You know, they introduced me to city politics and things of that nature. So, all the men, can we just act upon it? Let's mentor one person, one youth. Thank you.
Before Councilman Reddick comes, let me say this to you. I want to thank our parents. I want to thank you, the community. I want to thank those who are working. I want to thank those who ask the tough questions. We have had open and honest dialogue here, and that's important. And let me say this to you, and there's many things that are being done, but if you want to effectuate change, you have to get in the game. You have to make sure that you at City Council, County Commission, in Tallahassee. I say to people all the time, in this United States of America, 435 people that make laws that affect all 310 million. And people say, I don't care. Or they go around and plea bargain to a felony, and then they cannot participate in the process. It is a complete educational process that all of us must be engaged in, and there is no one correct answer. Many of us are working together. You have to see what some of these people go through. They're one person sometimes on the entire committee, one person of color, and then people say, well, they're not doing anything. I dare you to just walk into their office and see what some of them are doing. There is much being done, but ladies and gentlemen, as many people have said, there is much more needed to be done. And I have to stand here and look and say the glass is half full, and we have to fill it. And make sure you understand, no matter what you've heard and how you heard tonight, that this community wants change, and we stand here, this community, these elected officials, and everybody, to effectuate change. Thank you, Mr. Frank Reddick.
Thank you. Let me just say, let's give Mr. Daniel a round of applause. I especially want to give praise and thanks to my colleagues and elected officials who came and participated and played a significant role tonight. That's great. But let me say as an elected official, and when you talk about the budget, and you want the pie to get bigger, you got a chance on Monday afternoon at 5:01 when we discuss the budget in the public hearing. You want that pie to get bigger, come down there and boy, show up. That's what you have to do. Just like you come here, we need to see more of you on Monday at 5:01. That's how you're going to get the change, pie change. It's not going to be done by just one, less or myself. It's going to take a lot of us. So you come down at 5:01 on Monday, at 905 East Jackson Street, and when we have this public hearing, and talk about reducing that pie, and maybe we can stand in a public forum and make those comments. But let me just say this. Let me just recognize here Ed Moran, who's running the State House. I see Tiana Jensen was here, Sean Shaw who is here. Just recognizing those who came out. And let me thank all of you for taking the time to come out here. And all I wanted to say is this. Let's get back to the days when we can leave our doors unlocked. Amen. And we can walk down the street and not have to come back and worry about if the TV gone. And let's get to the days when we can talk with our neighbors.
Because no, now we do not do that. We need to get back to the days where we can take off the burglar bars and stop being in prison within our own community. You were afraid to sit on our porch in the evening time. This is what we got to do. And this is the start for dialoguing. We just want to have this the dialogue, try to find some common ground where it can be moved forward. I think we heard your passion. We share your concern. And I think each member sitting here on this panel are willing to move forward and say, let us find some support. Let us find solutions. And it might be, we have to bring the gang members in the next time. Work with law enforcement. I'm not going to bring them to let law enforcement here. But we're going to have to bring them in, and we're going to have to sit down and discuss to find out what's the problem. But I appreciate all of them here tonight. I appreciate Mr. Young, Owens for allowing us to be here. Young, Orange, for allowing us to be here. And again, thank everybody. And just let's keep praying and hoping that we can make some changes. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to acknowledge our Black and Black Crime Prevention Task Force Committee and the staff of their If you all can just please stand. Would you give these people a round of applause because they work every day on this issue? And I want to acknowledge one other person, Reverend Arthur Green, who's working in this community, doing great things. There are many churches doing great things. He's my friend. I thank you, Mr. Arthur Green. And now we will have our final comments and our benediction from the chair of our Crime Prevention Task Force, Ms. Jackie Coffey-Lee. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Okay. Now, I'd like somebody that you made it here because it wasn't because we were so good, but it's because of grace. Good evening. We are so happy and so honored that each of you, no matter what your views were, no matter what came out your mouth, no matter what your heart felt, that you came here tonight. You could have been anywhere else, but you thought enough of this community for us to come together. Now, as we leave, we don't want it to just be about the dialogue, but as we leave the door, we want to be doers. What can we do from what we did tonight to make it better to go to that next step? One of the panelists said, what does our fabric look like? Growing up, when they made a quilt in our community, they had different pieces of the fabric. It's important what we give people to make our quilt look like. So what kind of fabric are you? Let's take a look at ourselves. Ed, will you please stand as we pray? We thank you now for keeping us. We ask that you guide us as we leave this place, but never your presence. Remind us not to be angry, but to be people of action. Keep us and guide us. Cover our elected officials, this community, but most of all, guide us so that we will be a light and that we don't dim our own community. Teach us where you want us to go, how you want us to get there, and we'll be mindful to give you the glory. May our grief turn to glory. May our pain turn to promise. In Jesus' name we pray and we say amen.
Amen. As you leave, please try to sign up with one of these youth serving organizations or Middleton High School. We want you to get involved. We need the community. Thank the committee who worked with us, the neighbor of the program. Thank you all.